fear, but this pressure of thinking, this is one way, I've got to make this work.
Yeah.
You know, every narrative was, he's never good enough. He shouldn't play for England. I got banned for 6 months.
For what?
Eye gouging. 8 bans, 60 weeks. That's sickly. It's like the whole world comes crashing down. But also, I think it gave me that burning desire to fucking have it.
Dill, welcome to the show, mate.
Where's your notes?
I've got no fucking notes, mate.
You got no notes?
Off the cuff, mate.
Oh, right,
Off the cuff.
Let's roll.
Dill, let's go all the way back. Where did you grow up and how did you get into rugby?
Rotorua, New Zealand, Central North Island, smelly town, if anyone has ever been there. It's right on a fault line, so it's got like sulphur, volcanic geysers, you call them geysers, mud pools, all that sort of stuff. Sort of Maori heartland. So if you were to to go to New Zealand and do a bit of a tourism experience in Rotorua, you'd probably do the whole Maori sort of marae visit, like the village or the site where they kind of meet. You'd do a hangi where they cook in the ground. You'd see the haka and all the waiata, the songs and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of kind of Maori legend and myth there. So yeah, Central North Island is where I grew up. Born to an English mother and probably a third generation Kiwi. I mean, most Kiwis all hailed from over these ways at some point. So no, Hartley surname suggests that it was somewhere from up in Lancashire. So always kind of aware of my English heritage. Both my grandparents are very English. And yeah, I don't even know what the question was now.
How old were you when you left New Zealand?
16. That was my first time out of the country. So the original part to your question was rugby. How did I get into it? Yeah. Mate, it's lifeblood there, religion. It's just what you do, you know. Every young kid stands in front of that television and does the haka at a certain age watching the All Blacks. So yeah, it was just something I got into. Didn't really officially sign up to it till I was about 10 years old. And that was only because my friendship circle were doing it. And that's why I continued to do it, I think. Your whole set of mates, the acceptance, the inclusion. And I loved it, mate.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, mate.
So yeah, never look back.
Did you know at an early age that you had a talent?
Do you know what? I had an obsession. I didn't know if I was any good. I got given a rugby ball in 1995 from my dad, and my dad was a working man, real blue collar, kind of chippy, builder, carpenter, whatever you want to call him. And we never got gifts as kids. Like I've got kids now, man. They get gifts every day. Yeah. Like everywhere they go, they get something, you know. And I try not to, and we all try that, but it just happens, you know. So I got this rugby ball. Brother got a basketball, my little brother got a football. So I got this rugby ball and I cherished it. I became kind of obsessed with it. I started practicing all the time. I did all the unnecessary shit that, you know, I never did when I played professionally, like drop kicks, place kicking, punting, you know, all the silly offloads and that stuff. But I had an obsession with it. It went with me everywhere. I remember going to barbecues, you know, family days out. I took it to school. I remember walking to the bus stop every morning. I'd spin past the ball to myself down the road trying to hit the power lines and stuff like that. And I just became obsessed with the game and the ball. And at that time, 1995 is when Jonah Lomu obviously burst onto the world stage as a Rugby World Cup that year. I think he must have been 19, 20 years old.
He was young, wasn't he?
Just fresh out of school.
Yeah.
And he just blew up. I remember 10 years old being at school, every kid saying that they wanted to be like Jonah Lomu. So yeah, quite a formative sort of year. My dad giving me that ball, Jonah obviously coming to fame. That's what got me into it. And I suppose the obsession, I don't know where it come from, but like I remember just staying out till dark, throwing the ball or kicking the ball. And it was like the classic. My brothers weren't always there. My mum would say, come in for dinner, come in for this tea time, you know? So I don't know. I just loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Did you know what position you were at a young age? Have you been a hooker all your life?
Yeah, it's the thing about rugby, right?
Yeah.
It's a game for all shapes and
Yeah,
sizes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I was only one real shape. If you look at me now, it's not too far from that. I was a big kid growing up. Um, I think when you're under 10s, under 12s, it doesn't really matter where you play. I played a number of positions, but always in the forwards. And then I went to high school. Mum's baking was doing me good. Found the tuck shop as well. And, slotted into that front row pretty sharpish. But because I'd always had that obsession with, playing with the ball, kicking, passing, and a lot of Kiwi kids do this because they're grown up with the ball in their hands, going to the front row, I had an all right skill set, you know what I mean?
Did you know you had good hands back then? Do you know you could throw in? Did you know you had like
Yeah.
vision and?
I mean, I didn't have vision.
Yeah.
I just knew I was competent with the ball.
Yeah.
And I remember coming to England and being a front row forward that could actually just catch the ball and pass it was like a big thing, you know what I mean? And that's not a disservice to English players, but I've never seen the boys get so excited in a rugby training session when the football comes out for warm-up.
Yeah.
Like, and you see all the Kiwi boys, all the Aussies, all the Saffers, they thought they're like last to get picked in pickup, mate.
Yeah.
All the English boys, they come alive and they've got that, it's almost like their first love or first sort of talent. Like the ball on their feet is just natural. And I think for a Kiwi kid, I might just be, what's the word, generalising or stereotyping here.
I think you're right. I think we all grew up with football and then we flipped over to rugby.
Yeah.
But actually the talent in New Zealand was unbelievable. I did a rugby season out. I did 6 months in Hamilton. And the talent, when I went over, I was like, as a 19-year-old kid, I was like, my God, you're like miles ahead.
So were you playing club rugby, like men's club rugby?
Yeah, that's when I went into men's club rugby. I did a season out there for Hamilton Maris.
So where did you? Maris is a good club, isn't it?
But being a 19-year-old going in to play men's rugby out there was a huge step up. But when I come back from there, you knew that you were a better player.
Yeah.
I think my point of view here is, what age did you leave the country? It was 16, wasn't it? Did you ever represent New Zealand or any high-level kind of rugby before you left the country?
No, it's, again, like the talent pool was pretty deep. I played sort of provincial rugby, or it's almost like counties rugby, under 13s, under 16s. I'd represented the Bay of Plenty, which isn't one of the big provinces. You're kind of overshadowed by Waikato, Wellington, Auckland, those big ones. So I'd kind of done that stuff. But, the reality was first 15 rugby at school, it was like a big deal.
It was a big thing.
It was a big deal. And the year that I left, we actually won, or we drew the national final 6-all, which was a bit shit, if I'm honest. We'd gone that whole season and we got to the final and we drew it. And then the year later, the school won it. Yeah. So I came from a really strong rugby school. The reality was there was 5 players from that first 15 that probably went on to play professional rugby.
Okay.
One went on to be an All Black, Liam Messam. So I didn't quite cut the mustard.
Yeah.
I wasn't on those sort of rosters. I wasn't on the scouts kind of clipboards. Because like you said, there's fucking loads of good kids.
Yeah.
And I was just an average to above average kid, I was nothing special. So I sat there and I thought, what can I do in the off season? I didn't really partake in the studies side of school. I was very social. I was good at. I basically went to school to be social, to eat me lunch or someone else's lunch, and go to rugby training. Absolutely loved it. But in terms of schoolwork, I wasn't too fussed. And I think it was around GCSEs time. What do we call it there? School cert. I wanted to, because I knew I wasn't going to do well at it, and I didn't really want to do it. I looked for a loophole basically, and I saw a school exchange to England. So I went in, inquired about it from the school newsletter. It was going to cost like 30 grand, I think. And, I couldn't go to my parents and ask for that. And there's a lot of money, So that sort of idea got poo-pooed. But then my uncle, who lives in East Sussex, he's basically emailed saying, well, if you're thinking about coming here, why don't you come stay with us? Go to school with your cousins. There's a rugby academy at the school. So my eyes lit up.
Yeah, mate.
And mum and dad got me a ticket, and off I went on like an unofficial school exchange.
And how long was that for?
I had plans for a year, which I did. I brought my rugby boots with me. I I saw that year through. I mean, I did all the grassroots club footy, played for the school rugby academy, which is fucking funny. Like, I turn up to training and day one of my school, um,
What school?
Beacon Community College.
Okay.
You know, so I've gone from this, what I would call a professional rugby environment where, you know, it had a sports academy, a first 15 with kids queuing around the block to get a trial. And I turned up to Beacon Community College, and again, good people, good guys, good coaches, you know, good. But the difference was I turned up to Rugby Academy day one, and there's 7 people there.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, we'll do some scrums today. And I'm like, fucking, we need 8 people for a scrum. And it's like, oh, what position do you play? It's like, oh, winger. It's like, oh, you get in at lock then. So I'm thinking, what the fuck have I walked into here?
Yeah.
And I just remember culturally the difference as well. I just, I went for a piss at the side of the field in the bushes, and the teachers were like, what are you doing? And so, you know, the fact that no one turned up for training, and, you know, I went for a piss and got told off for it. It was just from a different, you know, I got a bit of a shock straight away. But I think, you know, a bit like, I think being a Kiwi in the south of England is probably a bit like a northerner being in the south of England. You know, you stand out, you're a bit different. And obviously, I remember this when I grew up in New Zealand, I played soccer as well, football. And we had a few Poms in the team, obviously English people. And they were good because they were English. That was the only thing. Like they came in like a level higher than us because they're English. Yeah. They're like their terminologies that they used, it was like fucking, it was.
They know this stuff. Yeah.
So straight away, I think being a Kiwi in the south of England, I probably got recognised. And I'd come from an environment that bred success. It was a high sort of level, first 15. So I think I stood out, and because I stood out and because I played the way I did, kind of, how do I describe that? Probably ultra competitive, quite verbal, quite physical. I got an opportunity. I got recognised, and I think once I was in that system, you know, opportunity on opportunity on opportunity, things started picking up. And then after I'd done my year,
did you come here though to go, right, I want to make it as a rugby player in England? It's an opportunity. I've got my mum's English. I've got an opportunity. If I go through the ranks and play well, I could get an England cap.
Nah, so that first year was a bit of scapegoating, like I said, a bit of a loophole, just to have a bit of a time overseas and play rugby. And the thing is, like, every kid in England goes down to, you know, Thailand, down to the Gold Coast, down to New Zealand, loops back through Fiji, California, then comes back home with, you know, all their parents' money spent.
10 grand in debt.
and a gap year under their belt. We all come here. We live up in Shepherd's Bush, and we do that. So I always had kind of aspirations to do that. My big OE, my big gap year, I would have come and done that. But I got here, and then that 1 year of when I was at school here, I managed to play for the England under-18 side. And then
what, in the second year of being here?
My first year.
Really?
Yeah. So my rugby kind of, it took off real quick. I remember 2 days, you know, jet lag protocols and all that. There was none of that. I went down to a county trial, and once I got the county trial, you go into the divisional and then the national selection for the under-18s. So within like a few months, my rugby journey had really kicked off. And then once I'd made that, it was a bit like, okay, something.
What year was this?
03, 04.
03, 04. So you knew the system. You knew that 6 or 7 years under the belt of professionalism by now. You knew there could be an opportunity for you to sign for a club. Do you think?
No, not at that point. Maybe it was 02, 03, because I remember England winning the World Cup here, and as a proud Kiwi boy, I'd salt rubbed in the wounds, mate. It was. I remember being up the clubhouse and all that kicking off. But what a year! Like, you talk about Jonah inspiring me at 10 years old. You know, Johnny Wilkinson and that team inspiring a fuckload of people here in England. So I'd done my year, played my England under-18s rugby, went back to New Zealand on my return ticket, and my uncle rings up and says, oh, we've got an email here. It's got a little red rose on it, and it's from the RFU, and we said, kind of open it. So we opened it, and it was an invite to go to Durban for 3 weeks with the under-19s team. And basically all those under-19s boys had left school and they were all part of academies. So I was like, okay, so this is kind of real. I can go and try and make it. I've got an opportunity here. So I talked to mum and dad. They brought me a one-way ticket, which is a lot of money as well. You know, it was like 700-800 quid,
Yeah.
and I'm not from money,
Yeah.
so it was a lot of money. So they'd already got my airfare the year before, or that year just gone, and then they buy me this one-way ticket, and I had this kind of sort of not fear, but this pressure of thinking, "Fuck, this is one way. I've got to make this work."
Yeah.
So I go on this this trip to South Africa for 3 weeks, and in the process of agreeing to go on that, I talked to the Worcester Rugby Academy, who were down in the championship
Yeah.
at the time, and
Who spoke to them? You, or did you have an agent at the time?
I did.
You
my
represented yourself.
No, this is a lot easier than it sounds. But the England under-18s forwards coach, who I had a relationship with, he was the Worcester Academy coach.
Name?
So I said,
what's his name?
Graham Smith.
Okay.
He was a horrible bastard.
Yeah.
But he turned out to be a lovely man and a good mentor, you know, for that stage of my life.
Good.
But you know, they said, yeah, we'll sort something, and you know, I agreed to. You know, there's no promise of a contract, but I went there on fuel expenses basically. So once a month I'd fill out, you know, I'm driving from East Sussex to Worcester, and I was getting about 400 quid or something. But I was actually staying in university halls in Worcester. So I went there on this promise of a contract. It finally came it was $4,000 a year, and I had to pay rent out of that. And it's funny because I've actually worked out it's 333 quid a month, 250 on rent, left me with 21 quid a week to be a professional rugby player. But fuck me, I was happy, mate.
Yeah, I bet.
I'd made it, you know what I mean? I could message back home. This is days before kind of FaceTime, Skype, stuff like that. I used to ring mum and dad on the payphone on the local corner shop, just to let them know I was alive and stuff like that. But I got by, you know.
What was that feeling like when you signed a contract to play rugby at something you just love?
Well, you talk about like your reasonings and your why of doing things through life and what motivates you. At that age, from I suppose 10 years old to 19, 20, 21, all I wanted to do was be a professional rugby player. Money didn't really matter. Just to play at the highest level, to rub shoulders with people I'd grown up watching or aspiring to be like. That was the motivation. So at 17, 18, when I signed that professional contract, it was a good feeling. But the reality was, and I talk about this in my book, and it means nothing to no one else, but I had to ring my mum from the payphone outside the house, and I felt so embarrassed and low that I had to ask her for I couldn't afford to buy boots. My boots are falling apart. They're fucked. I duct taped them up. I've done everything I could, and these are my tools. You know, there's the one thing I needed to do or to get paid effectively, and my boots get falling apart. And I talked to one of my coaches, Ollie Redman, who was a British and Irish Lion, and he gave me a pair of his boots, size 13. I was size 11, mate. So like I tried
4
that.
pairs of socks.
I tried that for a week, mate. So there I am, like I've payphoned my mum, put the coins in. Remember those days?
Yeah, mate, of course, absolutely. Used to love them.
And I'm kind of, you know, really embarrassed to say, mum, but I need some money. You know what I mean? The pay for my flight one way. I'd gone off to be a professional rugby player, and there I was. I felt like a grown man at 18, asking my mummy, you know, like for some money, please. And I felt so fucking embarrassed and low. But, you know, without fail, she wires the money. I can go play some boots, pay for some boots and crack on. But I look back at those years in Worcester. So I'm just kind of just reliving it all. It was so formative because I had to grow up real quick. Like I caught the bus everywhere. I remember picking up pennies off the fucking street. You know, like you see a tramp do it. You know what I mean? I'm not embarrassed to say it, but I had a staple diet of like those kilo bags of pasta. You know, poached eggs. I'd live off that and toast. At Worcester, they had a big kind of conference centre. I used to rob the place. Not just me, but the boys I played with. Everything from toilet paper to shower gels to milk to I took ham off the bone once. like all those little cheesecakes that they put out for conferences.
Yeah. Well, we just like sweeping them in a bag.
Honestly, boys were just rinsing the place. But mate, at 20 quid a week,
mate.
what the fuck could we do?
What was the movement then? What was your mindset? You're going, I can't carry on like this. If you're managing yourself, were you thinking I actually need an agent to represent me right now to take me to another club, or were you happy to stay at Worcester if they were going to pay you more money?
I think this is the days where rugby's the game had been professional 7 years, 8 years at that point. It was still in its formative, or is a word embryonic? It's still in its early days, you know. So I was at a championship club, like I wasn't on the radar. And this is what fucked me off the most, is like I used to go to these England camps and you'd hear stories about, oh, so-and-so's on 30 grand out of school. And I'm there on my 4 grand on 20 quid a week. It's like, fucking hell. And I had a big chip on my shoulder, a massive chip on my shoulder. But also, I think it gave me that that burning desire to fucking have it, you know, to get after my opposite number, to train hard. When I wasn't thieving and training, I suppose I found different ways to earn money. I did everything from like pamphleting, you know.
Flyering.
Yeah, flyering, did all that. Fucking dogs coming at the letterbox and shit like that. I've done that. I cleaned gutters. I did odd jobs. I used to work at night for these 2 brothers they were basically taking over nurseries, doing them up and creating quite a good little business
So
down
you're doing all this while you're on your 4 grander?
Yeah. So
how many years did you stay on your 4 grander for?
2.
2 years. And then what did it flip up to from there? Did you stay at Worcester or did you move on? And how much did you jump onto?
No, I suppose that's the link. So I had 2 years at Worcester and I played Northampton on a Monday night game up there. Beautiful rugby ground. Yeah. You know, it's outstanding. And played up there. And I made a beeline for the coach after the game. I said, can I come here? Really want to come here. Nice. At the time, I recognised a couple of the All Blacks that played for Northampton. You know, Bruce Rehana signed my ball when I was 10 years old. Yeah. Him and Jonah were at the local park down the road from the Chiefs come through, and Jonah and Bruce signed my ball. Bruce Rehana was the captain there. Yeah. So I was like, okay, Mark Robinson, another All Black.
He was a class player, wasn't he?
Class bloke as well. Yeah. So there's a couple of names I recognised. I was like, okay, I could do this. I'd quite like to come here. So I made a beeline. He said, we can make that happen. And then within 3 months, I basically moved there at the end of the season. But in that time, they kind of said, this is a kind of dodgy dealings of professional rugby. So can we do anything to help you? Yeah. In the meantime, I just said, just financially, I'm fucking struggling. Yeah. They wrote me a check for 1,500 quid.
Happy days.
And for 3 months, mate. Yeah. And it was like I won the lottery. Yeah. It was like I won the lottery. All my worries went away. Yeah. But the other thing I was doing at Worcester, which I'm not afraid to admit, but I haven't lost the sort of thriftiness. But like, if anyone left kit lying around, I had it, mate. It was in me bag. First teamers, if they left the kit lying around, mate. I'd have it. Yeah. And this is back in the days before sort of England rugby cottoned on to making match-worn stuff or like the same stuff. So I created like this little eBay hustle. And I remember I was so proud of it because eBay, once you got to a certain amount of earning, you had to kind of register, upload your passport. Yeah. I think I made like 6 grand in a year. So I'd made more in my wage. I was selling like, I remember going and playing for England, right? And every game you get new socks, new shorts, new top. Never sold a top, always kept my tops and gave them to my mum and dad and that sort of thing. But I'd bring my shorts and socks from the week before, wear them so I could eBay my other ones, brand new with tags, BN, brand new WT. Mate, and like I was selling shorts for 80 quid, rain tops for a couple hundred quid.
Quality.
And then same at Worcester, mate. It wasn't just me, there's a few other boys, I won't label them, but I basically made more money in that year, kind of posting and packing and posting
you, mate.
Kit. So what it did for me, it created like a thriftiness. I learned how to earn money. I learned to work and train. And then when I signed for Northampton, doubled my salary, gave me 8 grand. They gave me a free house.
Free rent.
Yeah, free rent. Yeah, not a free house.
Yeah, I was going to say, fuck, that's a good deal.
No, it certainly wasn't that. Free rent. Yeah. We got a meat pack every week.
Yeah.
Got a veg box every week. We got free shoes, free boots.
How did you feel?
I felt professional.
Yeah, I bet.
And at that moment, like the penny sort of dropped, the hustle I'd learnt the hustle, if that makes sense. I learnt how to push myself and work and fight. That just freed me up to really rip into it. And in my first season moving to Northampton, I went on to play the first 4 premiership games. So I went from being like a championship academy player,
Yeah.
didn't even train with the first team.
Yeah.
And I went straight to Northampton, mate. In my first pre-season, I'm rooming with Carlos Spencer,
Oh my
a
God.
bloke who I grew up idolising.
Legend.
And I was professional. Boys couldn't believe it. They're like, "Fuck, Dills, you're playing on the telly."
So you've gone from under 19s England. You've then gone up to Northampton. Have you done England 21s while you're playing professional
Yep.
on the first team as well?
I kind of got accelerated through that. I played a couple years early and stuff like that. But yeah, at 20, I was 21 when I got capped by England. So in between 19, I signed proper professional
Yeah.
for Northampton
Yeah.
in their academy. And at 21, 22, I got capped for England. So in those years, I played England under 21s and the England Saxons when there was like England A back in the day.
Bloody hell.
So I've done it all. I kind of,
Condensed it.
yeah, it was good, man. It was good.
Who was your biggest competitor at the club at Northampton at the time?
I'll tell you, no, it was probably before that when I was at Worcester, when we were in the championship. There's a guy, I won't say his name, feel bad, but he went to a good school, played the same position. He was in a good academy. He was on the good money,
Yeah.
you know, or perceived good money.
Yeah.
And I was at Worcester fighting, and he was getting picked ahead of me. And, you know, not proud of this at all, but 18-year-old kid on the other side of the world, no real guidance, just real desire to make it. Worcester played Leicester one game, and I basically got him, and I kind of I hit him, punched him again and again, knocked him out, completely off the ball in a ruck type thing. And then he was knocked out. He couldn't play for a few weeks. And then Dorian West, who ended up being my mentor and coach for about 10 years with England youth sides, and he became the forwards coach at Northampton. I remember him pulling me up, saying, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
He's our team. He's your teammate."
Yeah.
I said, "He wasn't my teammate in the day, and you keep picking him in front of me."
Yeah.
And he kind of gave me a bollocking, told me off, saying, "You can't do it. You can't. You know, it's wrong. It's not how you play the game. That sort of thing." But from that day forward, he never didn't select me for England
It worked.
or club. But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, mate.
I was desperate, man. Like, I was desperate to make it. And I looked at this kid. He had a car. You know what I mean? They had a car, like, they had money. He was my route.
Was this hooker playing for England at the time?
No, I was prop.
Okay.
We were lucid props. And do you know what? Like, I'm not proud of it, but, you know, I found a way, and he was in the way.
Did you find that you carried that on throughout the whole of your career? I don't want to fast forward our convo here, but did you find that you were like, as a hooker, the night before going, he's my man, the opposite hooker, I need to take him out of the game tomorrow?
I mean, that sort of mindset of taking him out, not necessarily. I think those years at Worcester, again, quite formative. When we were 17, 18, we'd get wheeled in for a forward session to maul and scrummage and basically ruck against the first team forwards who were like 35-year-old blokes, championship rugby players as well, like gnarly old pricks. And it wouldn't, if you left without a split or a black eye, like you'd done well. Like we were literally getting filled in and fighting back. So I kind of cut my teeth in a quite a hard environment. And I remember like my first sort of second premiership game, Danny Grucock just slips his bind in the scrum, drops 3 on my nose. You know what I mean?
He's a tough man.
Like
as well.
I'd come through like the old school in a way, and all I knew how to do was to compete and literally fight. I'm not saying I'm a good fighter, but the sort of mindset was drilled into us at Worcester. You know, you got to go for it. So I don't know. That probably got me in a bit of trouble throughout my career, but you know, not being overly athletic or skillful, I think I had to kind of compete at that level and be confrontational. And the good thing is, man, like there's a place for that in rugby. Obviously, not the shit over the edge stuff. But you don't need to be the fastest guy or the most skillful. There's somewhere in rugby for you to be like a, what do I call it? a confrontational
Yeah.
competitor.
Yeah.
These headphones are making me hot.
Take them off, man. Take them off.
It's like fucking having a jumper on.
So then, Northampton, you went up to $8,000. When did you decide?
Mate, I was rich.
You felt the daddy then. When did you when did that start increasing? How easy was it to negotiate with the club to say, look, I'm the first team hooker? Were you negotiating, or did you have an agent still? Or
No.
Did you find an agent?
Yeah, I think when that happens, when you've been in those England youth sides and stuff like that, you get them agents kind of like hanging about. They start sniffing about, and they start bribing you with Xbox games and shit. All the shit that like doesn't matter. But when you're 19, it's shiny and it's So yeah, naturally, I think when you're looking 19, 18, 19, 20, and probably happens younger these days, but I picked up an agent, and after a season of playing kind of men's rugby, that first year at Northampton, I probably earned more in my bonuses. I think I was getting like 500 quid a game, and I played that many games. Was it 16 games? Yeah, I played more than 16 games, so I exceeded my salary effectively.
Okay.
So I at that point they kind of offered a first team contract.
What did that start on, roughly, if you can remember?
19. It was good.
Yeah. You talking 30 grand?
No, I jumped much higher.
Did it?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, six figures, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow. And how old are you then?
20, 21.
Wow. So that's a good jump.
Yeah. So 19 I signed my academy one, and then at 20, 21, yeah. But I think I was in the pipeline for honours, you know. I think it was timing as well. Like Steve Thompson, the World Cup winner.
Yeah.
He was kind of coming to the end of his career before he retired first time round.
Yeah.
So I think in that England setup, I'd come through that youth system.
Yeah.
I'd transitioned to hooker at that point.
Yeah.
And I think it was just timing, you know, there was no sort of other bolters.
Yeah.
There's a couple others, and I was one of them, which is good. So got lucky, you know. I think opportunity. I mean, you got to be ready to take opportunity as well, right? But
absolutely. But was Tomo your main competitor at Northampton for how many years?
Probably 2 or 3.
How was
2.
How was that relationship between you two at the club?
It started off pretty chirpy. I remember when Northampton wanted to sign me, they brought him to the meeting for the Stardust, you know. I was like, oh shit. No, but I remember this, right? I remember going back to Worcester, and you know, he was saved in my phone as Wally, you know, his nickname.
Yeah.
I remember him texting me, and the boys being like, fuck, like Steve Thompson's texting him. But like that's how they do it these days, mate. Like I think the club would probably use me in that respect as well to get young players to come. But it started well, but when he came back from his Lions tour, and I was obviously playing this academy hooker, and I'd obviously made an impression.
What Lions tour was this? What year?
New Zealand. It would have been 05, yeah. Yeah, so I think it must have been a point, and I've seen it as well, you know, as a competitor, you know, when the young guys, you know, right there, and you know that the coaches favour that, and so it's your ego or your pride probably takes a dent, and sometimes competition, what's the polite way of putting it, brings out the ugly in people. You know, I learned a lot from that, and I kind of thought when I get to that position, that was the other thing when I was at Worcester, you didn't get looked after very well. I was desperate for like an older player to take me under his wing, and I didn't have it. So I kind of thought.
Did Tomo take you under his wing? Or was it properly dog eat dog?
Bit of both.
Yeah, okay.
Bit of both.
Begrudgingly take you under his wing, do you think?
I'm not. I think he had other stuff going on in his sort of life that probably. But and naturally, I gravitated to other mentors. I suppose I gravitated to what I knew. I gravitated to Paul Tupai, Matt Lord, Carlos Spencer, Mark Robinson. I understood Kiwi rugby culture. It was like speak when spoken to, be invited to the back of the bus, that sort of thing. I remember those boys saying, Neff, here's the card, go buy the McDonald's, get the beers. They wouldn't get off the bus. They'd give me, and I'd be like, I got a free meal out of that. And equally, I didn't have a car in my first 18 months at Northampton. used to ride like this fucking muddy Fox that got given to me, and it had a flat tire. I could never be asked change it because it was enough to get me to the ground and back. I only lived next door.
Yeah.
So I had a bike. Again, because I caught the bus at Worcester, I was used to catching the bus anywhere, you know what I mean? But I remember Carlos being like on a Saturday night when we got back off the bus, we'd be boozing on the bus. I wouldn't, because I'd drive him. He'd be like, you know, you keep the car for the weekend, you drop me home type thing. So I'd have a car for the weekend, which meant Sunday I could go do my food shop and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I gravitated towards what I knew. Paul Tupai, who's I'd say he's my best mate. Trained with him this morning. He'd come from the Bay of Plenty, so I grew up watching him. He was my local rugby, not my rugby hero, I'm not going to give him that, but he was the captain of the local rugby team, you know. I grew up watching him. All of a sudden, he signs at Northampton. So I'm like, fuck, there's another guy from Rotorua here.
Happy days.
Ends up moving 3 doors down from me. 4 or 5 nights a week, I'm having dinner at their house. So I gravitated to what I knew. So Tomo, Ben Cohen, that lot, they were the England World Cup kind of superstars. I don't know. It just wasn't. Do you know what? We were competitors. There was probably not much more to it than that.
Do you speak to him still today?
No.
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 What was it like in training with him? Was it? How long did he?
That's
How
the
long?
thing,
How
when
long was he number one before you took it off him?
It was probably that first year, and then I think he left the club.
Yeah.
I think he went
France,
to Breathe. Yeah,
That's right.
But I think, you know, I'm just trying to.
So tell me,
because he came back, he retired, then he came back, and I was like,
right.
"Fucking, my old ghost is back." And it was when I was playing for England, though, and I was like, I got benched basically for that. But you know, Jono was the coach then, and he went for tried and tested. You know, Tomo he'd played with.
Yeah.
So I got no issues there. But as a competitor, you go, "Fuck, I want to play." I had no issues with it, you know.
Yeah. Who was your coach when you first made your England debut?
It was a weird one. We didn't have one. We went on tour without. It was when Jono was appointed.
Yeah.
But he couldn't come, so we went with Rob Andrew on tour to New Zealand.
You're joking me.
To New Zealand, to the All Blacks.
God.
And so this is quite big actually. So I get selected on this tour.
What year are we talking?
07, 08.
Okay.
Yeah, after the World Cup. So early 08.
Did you go to the World Cup?
No.
In 07? You weren't? No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I was kind of, you know, considered a bolter.
Yeah.
The fact I got banned for 6 months.
For what?
Eye gouging.
Who?
You prick, you know. James Askell. Can I just say, I need to stipulate, I didn't kind of bowling bin.
Yeah.
Bowling ball.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, I was thinking bin juice, James Ask. I went through a ruck and I removed him by any means necessary. I dragged him by his face, basically.
Yeah.
I'd consider it a reckless action.
Yeah.
But again, lesson learned, you know, this is when rugby, I'm not justifying or trying to explain my 60 weeks of a rap sheet, but this is the first thing. And rugby went through like a cleanup period.
Yeah.
And I was like the first major ban, like to come from rugby. Yeah. And then after that, there was eye contact kind of bans coming left, right, centre, 2-3 months here, 2-3 months here. And I got 6 months for mine.
6 months?
Yeah, but I need to explain this because when I look at my rap sheet and people are like, he's been banned for a year, it's fucking impressive. No one else is going to do that.
I was going to 60 weeks.
Yeah, I got 8 major bans, none of which I'm proud of. But I mean, you got to sit back and laugh.
Hold on a minute. 8 major bans.
Yeah.
Can you remember what they're for?
Yeah. Well, first one, let me go through it.
Yeah.
Is the eye gouging, and I went every ban after that. I went with a QC, like a top bollocks lawyer, and I always got a fair punishment, I would say, for what I did, you know, or didn't do, or, you know, we can go into that in a minute. Yeah. But the first time I went, I didn't take a QC. I went with a team manager and the CEO of the club, and I got 6 months. And this was before rugby banned in weeks or games. So now that there's no point banning someone over the pre-season, over summer. I got banned over the summer. So they took into account 3 months without games
Okay.
pre-season. So when I look at my rap sheet, I could easily just go like, fucking let's rub 3 months off that because it's ridiculous. But it just sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I got done for 3 cases, 2 got thrown out, and 1, so it's like it was ridiculous in a way. So I got done for that. What else had I done? Jeez, getting juicy now. Can I just say as well, like when I've talked to loads of people about this, loads of interviews. When I read it all together, 8 bands, 60 weeks, or I've already cleared up the 60 weeks thing that could be brought down.
Yeah.
It sounds horrific, which it is, but this is over 15, 16 years.
It's a long career. Yeah,
and I can 100% justify some of those actions I did, some I didn't do, some I'm guilty of, some I'm not. But I kind of, the things that I did do or I got caught up in, I can sit here now and, not like a psychopath, justify it, but I got so much out of it, of playing that way. I forged a fucking professional rugby career out of being that competitor.
Put the fear up people.
Well, I don't know if it was fear, but like I got in the mix, I got stuck in.
Yeah.
And when I sit back and go, got in trouble 8 times in 15, 16 years, not so bad, and I came back from every one of them and I went on to smash it and continue after, every narrative was, he's never good enough. He's not, he shouldn't play for England, Always came back and, I went through 3 major coaches and Stuart Lancaster, Jono, Eddie Jones, they all backed me.
Yeah.
Jim Mallender, Dorian West backed me. So like they were setbacks at the time, but they were formative in each one in their own way.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, did the eye gouging, which was a reckless clear out.
Yeah. When you saw it back on camera, you were like, oh shit. At the time, you were just trying to clear him out any way you could.
I mean, my head's beyond him, and I'm just reaching back and grabbing him by scrum cap.
Yeah,
and
anything.
This sort of was. It was that went in his eye, and you can see my hands open. Which this is the days before kind of HD replays and shit like that. But the evidence was enough, so you kind of know, like you're guilty of. Yeah, it happened. Reckless.
Were you mates with him before that?
We'd been in camps together and stuff like that. Yeah.
Were you mates with him?
Associates.
Associate?
Yeah, I'd say we're friends now, really good friends.
Yeah.
We spent a bit of time together.
You were both at Bournemouth Sevens last month.
Well, he was working.
He was working.
You didn't pay me to come down, did you? No, I'll tell you what you did do, though. You got me into a sold-out concert. Thank you very much.
That's right. You're more than welcome, mate.
And my friends.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
It was a very good do.
It's good doing it.
Good to be back?
Yeah, mate. 1,000%. We had 27 months off. We had 42 days to put it on. The government to say you got 42 days to put this festival on. No social distancing, no face masks. All of a sudden, we're like, we've got to find 800 staff to put the festival on.
I'll come work for you next year.
Yeah, mate, you're more than welcome, mate.
Just come down, mate. It's good crack.
Or get on the piss. Security. I think get on the piss, mate.
No, it's very good. Good. Really enjoyed it.
Good. Let's go back. So tell me some more of the bands, what they were for. You said you can kind of justify these other ones. Was it having a straightener with the sun or having a proper punch out?
Yeah, I mean,
was it?
There's some rugby stuff there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've elbowed someone, I punched someone. I mean, I got done for contact with the head or headbutt, and it was an overexcited try celebration on the opposite, on Jamie George, who then he had the last laugh, kind of went on to replace me in the World Cup squad. Yeah. But I mean, I literally, by the letter of the law, my head touched his head, but I literally walked forward into him, leading. I didn't.
You didn't pull it back?
Nah, it wasn't the old Glasgow.
Yeah.
So there's things like that where, do you know what? I understand laws and rules of rugby, and it needs to be clean, and we need to set a good example for the kids, but there needs to be a bit of common sense around. I've sat in that many disciplinaries now. Like, do you know what? Poacher turned gamekeeper. I should go fucking consult and advise for them because they need some common sense in there. It's if they want to throw the book at you, they can. You know what I mean? And by that point, I'd made a pretty good rod for my own back. I got myself in a few scrapes, and by the time the next one came round, it was a bit of an eye roll. I kind of knew I was going to get done. Verbal abuse of a match official, which 100% stand by. I didn't do.
You didn't do?
I didn't.
Oh, wow.
I stand by what I said, and I
Where was this?
Premiership final.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Was
for,
it?
for Northampton's first ever final,
Against
Leicester, who are
Arch?
130
Yeah,
years,
yeah, yeah.
so the local derby.
What happened?
Just the game was kind of in a bit of a downward spiral. I felt like we were on the back foot that first half, and on the stroke of half time, scrum under the sticks on the 22. And I felt like Leicester, this is the old kind of scrummaging laws,
Yeah.
jumped the gun on us, rolled us, got a penalty out of it. And I kind of got up from the scrum and I muttered the words fucking cheat. And the referee took exception. Wayne Barnes thought I was talking to him. He said, I saw this player call me an effing cheat. It's a red card. And the fact was he was actually facing the other way. Like, I thought about this. I could have gone to Crown Court, you know, with my evidence and got this overturned, but it wasn't worth my time. And I pleaded not guilty. I said those words. I said those words, but I was talking to Tom Youngs, who was my rival at the time. Dan Cole was best mate and tighthead. Leicester.
Yeah.
So the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not the ref. You know, like I'd never gone down that route with a match official before. I've never been confrontational. And I muttered those words, and I could have said, like, you know, we talk in rugby about cheap penalties. I even said, like, I could have said cheap.
Yeah.
I said fucking cheap.
Yeah.
You know, like, I was just muttering. But I said, no, I said fucking cheap. But I wasn't talking to the ref.
Yeah.
And
fair play because a lot of people could have tweaked that word.
yeah, but like, I don't see the point.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he said he saw me say it, like, look, and then there's this whole back thing to it is I was a naughty kid, remember? I'd already made a rod for my own back. Premiership final, I was the captain of the team, sending me off on the stroke of half-time, huge implications.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Straight red.
The RFU control the disciplinary panel.
Yeah.
The RFU employ the ref. Like, there's no way they were going to go against the ref's word.
No way.
Wayne Barnes is a solicitor.
Yeah.
He's a smart man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He knows the impact of... And I remember being sat there, and it was he was on his fucking stag do as well. He phoned in. I'm sat there in a suit. He was on a stag do. And he phoned in. It was like, was there any chance that Mr. Hartley's words may not have been directed at you? He said 100% categorically they were aimed at me. So, like, they're never going to go against them.
Of course.
Man. So I rung Warren Gatlin. I've been selected for the Lions to tour.
What year?
Aussie.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just said, look, he's like, are you going to appeal it? You know, we'll wait for you if you want to appeal it. And they're in Hong Kong at this point. I just said, look, if I appeal it, I kind of made the decision after everything I've just told you. It's not. I just said it's not worth the appeal. You know, they're not going to change their mind type thing.
Not.
So I'd say crack on. I'll see you in 4 years type thing.
Wow.
He didn't pick me in 4 years.
Wow, did he not? So you were meant to be on that Lions tour.
Yeah.
They were all in Hong Kong at the time.
Yeah.
You were going to fly out and meet them after the final.
Yeah.
You got red card after the final, and they were like, "There's no way you're going to be representing the Lions now."
Nah.
Wow.
No, do you know what? It wasn't.
Wow.
It wasn't even that. Do you know? Because I grew up and I didn't even know what the Lions was.
Yeah.
Now I've got a greater understanding after playing here for 16 years, 18 years. You know, how long have I been here now? Don't know. I know what the Lions means to the boys and to the people. But at that point, it was just like another sort of thing to add to my CV. You know, professional rugby player, done that, played for England, done that. Lions, it'd be good financial benefit, bit of a tour, good crack. But like, I had no burning ambition to play for the Lions. I don't know if that sounds ridiculous, but you can remember they only tour New Zealand every 12 years. So they toured in 2005, and I was here at that point. And previous to that, how old was I? Like, I didn't even know who the Lions were. So I had no sort of affiliation or love affair with the Lions. The only thing that was shit about that day was like Northampton, like the town, my adopted sort of home. It was kind of history making that we'd gone down there. It's the first final ever for the club at that level. And I was the captain and I fucked it, you know what I mean? And to look at your mates in the face. It was funny because I was at Twickenham the other day, actually, and I cut away to use the bathroom in the away change room. And I haven't been in there since that. Actually, the following year, we went and won the Premiership final in that changing room. So I've only been in there 2 times. And one was after that red card, stroke of half time, and second one was the redemption year, the following year.
How did you feel when you got sent off
Oh
and you
man,
went back into the change room? Were you like,
no,
oh mate, this is proper trouble?
it was a slow walk. You know, like sickly.
Yeah.
It's like the whole world comes crashing down. Like I find it hard to, and again, like you can't have a silent protest. You can't sit down on the field and say, you know, again, respect the referee,
Yeah.
respect his command, get off
Yeah.
the field.
Yeah.
So I go off the field and it's a long walk, and you go back into the change room. And I'm like, right, now's not time for an apology. The boys are gonna. I just fucked off down to the bathroom, the mirrors, had a good look at myself, stood in the background while the coach kind of instructed what we're going to do with 14 men. And then they all go out, and I'm sitting there thinking, fuck, like, you know, what do I do? You know, 86,000 people, probably 5 to 10 million watching on TV. Actually, that's what an England game gets. Probably less than that. But I think, what do I do? Do I cut away? Do I just fuck this off? But no, it's like, I've got to go out there. I know the camera's going to be in my face,
Yeah.
but I was like, I've got to front up.
Yeah.
Just going to go sit there. And yeah, camera's all stuck up in your face every 2 seconds, watching your reaction. And you know what? Same thing after the game, losers medal, still went up and got it. Then obviously, hat in hand sort of apology to the guys. And again, like, I'm sitting there questioning myself, going, like, I'm apologizing for putting everyone in that situation, but you know, internally I'm thinking I didn't fucking say that to the ref.
Yeah.
But off the back of it, man, like,
Did you go up to the ref after and said,
nah,
Wayne, I did not say that to you?
I was way too emotional at the
Were
time.
you? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't the right time to do it.
Yeah.
But off the back of it, like, I look back at my captaincy, I was quite, just like how I played the game, I was quite spiky towards referees as well. And that experience basically made me have a good look at myself and rejig or relearn. I got a little bit of, assess how I talk to referees and how I conduct myself, you know. So I still played the way I did, but I mean, you know, how long was my ban? 3 months. You know, in the new season, Wayne Barnes is reffing me again.
Yeah.
And I'm there in an England training camp, and he's coming in to referee the training session. And he's sat at lunch with me, and I'm just, you know, water under the bridge.
Did you speak
move
up?
on. Yeah.
Did you speak up to him, shake his hand, say, mate?
Yeah, 100%.
Did you say to him, I did not say that to you? Just
No,
you know,
never done it.
just kept it stum.
Never done it.
Would you say it to him?
100%.
Yeah.
There's a few people that try getting us on stage. Like, he does a bit of speaking. Apparently he's quite a funny bloke.
Yeah.
But like, it's part of his fucking stand up now. You know what I mean? He's the bloke that sent me off.
Okay. He's only a pound note.
But like, yeah, but he's not going to change his story, is he?
Of course not.
And I'm not going to change mine. So it's there's no point us being together, if I'm honest, because it's going to be, you said it, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
It's pointless. So
who was your England coach at the time?
would have been Stuart Lancaster.
What was he like to work under?
Was he different?
Different, was he?
Yeah, he inherited a bit of an amateur professional kind of bunch.
Yeah.
So Jono's group, they were kind of like the boys that had been pro since 95, won the World Cup, train hard, play hard, party hard, that sort of thing. And then we obviously had a bit of a fallout in the 2011 World Cup in New Zealand, where we played hard, we trained hard, but we also partied hard.
Yeah. Mate, I can't wait for this next bit, mate.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. We'll probably cut back to it. But so England rugby took a bit of a hammering, and I think our media have got a lot to do with that. We did no different to what a Welsh or Irish team were doing out there. But because of our media and probably having Mike Tyndall in the team, he'd recently been married, that just brought extra attention to what we're up to. But we had a fucking good time. You know? We made the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
Yeah, but people don't remember that.
No.
It's weird, isn't it?
You know, we get knocked out by France, who go on to just lose to the All Blacks by the skin of their teeth, you know. So we
What was it like working under Lewis Moody as captain? In 2011 World Cup, New Zealand.
I don't know, like, I wasn't, because you're young, 21, 22, 23, young, single, I think I was single-ish. Mrs. Hartley. Yeah. No, but you know what I mean? Like, not single in terms of that, but just no dependence, I'll put it that way, traveling the world, playing rugby, doing everything I signed up or aspired to do. So when I looked at leadership, you kind of just followed, or I didn't really judge, you know what I mean? I was doing my thing. I had my group of mates, Ben Foden, James Haskell, Chris Ashton. We're all young fellas, no dependence, having the time of our lives.
Yeah,
So in terms of what was it like to work under Lewis Moody or Mike Tyndall, I wasn't really assessing captaincy credential. You know what I mean? I was just looking after myself, having a good time.
Yeah.
I suppose the older I got, the more cynical you become, or the more you critique things or want to influence how the teams run. So at that time, I didn't feel like it was my team. I was like a young apprentice. But then under Stuart Lancaster with Chris Robshaw, you're more of an established player. I played with Robbo since we were 19.
Yeah.
So like you're all of a sudden got a bit more of an influence on the team. So working under Lewis and those guys, I can't really remember. I wasn't really aware.
He was a leader from the heart, wasn't he?
Oh, he played hard.
Ridiculously hard. Yeah.
He played hard, mate. Put his face wherever.
Yeah, he didn't care.
But you know, that's ultimately that wins you a lot of fans in a rugby team. You know what I mean? A lot of followers. If you do what you're going to say, you know. And he was definitely a doer. So no, but going back to it, like, so Stuart Lancaster had a bit of a clean-up job. He had a bit of a rebranding exercise to do with English rugby, effectively. You know, the media, the fallout from the 2011 World Cup. It wasn't a good image for us.
At that 2011 World Cup, tell me about the dwarf throw-in.
Yeah, I mean, again, it didn't
was
happen.
Was that blown out of proportion,
yeah,
or was
mate.
it? Or did you have a good crack on the piss, throwing a few dwarfs around?
No, I don't even call them dwarfs. We basically we beat Argentina, went to Queenstown.
Party capital.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few. You go there, bungee jump, jet boat, luge, helicopter rides. It was all put on for us, mate.
Proper stag do.
Yeah, it was all put on for us. And, you know, I'm at a World Cup. I'm 22 years old, 23. I'm not going to turn that stuff down.
Yeah.
So we do that, and then there's a free bar put on as a team bonding session. So again, being a young fella, I ripped in, mate. Like, it's what I knew how to do. I still got up and trained. I still played hard, and my sort of role models, I suppose, at the time, they ripped in as well. So I followed. You know what I mean? But if you look at the minority in the team like that, you had like your Johnny Wilkinsons. Like, what an honour to play with Johnny. Maybe if I'd just kind of cut away and followed him, you know, would my career have been any better, or, you know? But mate, I just followed the group at that time. I was a young fella and ripped into the free bar, and we're walking home or looking for the next spot. And there's the backpackers, and like in New Zealand, the backpackers is probably the best night out because it's always got young people in there. It's always full and it's always boozy, you know. So we cut in there, and it was dwarf night, and man, no one got thrown. It was just dance floor. We were just dancing, mate. We had a few kind of just busted some moves on the dance floor, and no one got thrown. Like,
did you pick a few up and just sort of throw them in the air to each other?
No,
like, there must have been a little bit of
nothing like that. I remember like one of them tackled Chris Ashton onto a couch, and we saw this happen. So we kind of jumped on top of Chris Ashton, and I think that was the photo that the Daily Mail took. And if you look, there's like some high vis, and that's actually the little person was covered in like high vis. So if you can't actually see him, but if you know that the dwarf was in high vis, he's kind of dogpiled on top of. But it was his doing. He. But there's no throwing. But again, like,
it was a bit of fun.
Mate. And the fact that I think a prominent Irish rugby player was carried out of there the night before with no attention.
Yeah. No one knew.
Nah.
Yeah.
And look, lesson learned. But so the difference in managers from Jono was very trustworthy. I remember that World Cup. It was like touchdown in New Zealand, staying in a casino, Sky City in Auckland. And this is professional sport, right? This is 2011. So it's only 10 years ago. And it was like jet lag protocols. Like under Eddie, if we travelled, it would be like, right, water, compulsory stretch, compulsory swim, compulsory like cycle. You know, would have stuff scheduled in, meetings, bang, bang, bang. Jono was just like, because he trusted the group and he just did what he knew. It was like, right, jet lag or just this first day, just take yourselves out for dinner, go for a few drinks. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was like that was the green light.
Yeah, mate.
So we went out that night, and you know we're there for a party, and it's like day one of the World Cup. But to get over jet lag, it was like just go out in the steam,
Get on the smash. Yeah.
But I doubt the All Blacks are doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that's just the difference, and how things have moved on so quickly. So yeah,
did it cause tension in the camp? Do you think, with everything going on at that World Cup?
Yeah,
because there's a lot of press jumping.
Yeah. We again, I got the distractions. Ultimately, even if you say it's not a distraction, if it takes up time in your head and your day, like again, I brought a car. We were in Dunedin for 3 weeks, and we trained every day. It was like living there effectively.
Yeah.
It was really boring.
Yeah.
And instead of being focused and thinking about diet, training, performance, meetings, analysis, games, these are the pool stages. Instead of thinking about that, me and the boys just wanted to get out and have a look around, So I go and buy this car. Bought a car for £1,000. Saw a bloke in the street. I was like, what are you doing with that car? I'll give you £1,000 for it. Went back to his house, signed the papers over, drive back. The Vauxhall Victor, 1966 Vauxhall Victor.
Quality.
So I've gone back to the boys, and it's like, boys have got wheels. So we spent 3 weeks touring around Dunedin, like going off, like we'd smash training, compulsory, go on the team bus.
Yeah.
As soon as we got back, we'd be off out.
Yeah.
Video cameras, filming everything. Kind of
Who was the core? Core group of lads on that?
Hask, Ashton, and Foden.
Yeah, okay.
So just it was, I don't know, we were just like lads on tour basically. But like I said, I'll come back to it. We still trained hard, played hard, did all that. But in our downtime, we just maxed it out. Like if I look back to my twilight years of England, my downtime was spent in my bedroom, lying down, trying to sleep or recover. I don't know how I had the energy to get off the field, get changed and go. You know. So with this car, we're cutting about, but what a distraction! But Jono was cool with it.
Yeah.
It was like, get out and see, immerse yourself in the community, and we did that. But the difference between that to how I finished the game, it's like professionalism was definitely there when I finished.
What year did you retire?
2019.
19.
Yeah, just before.
So you went from Jono.
Yeah.
To
Lanny. Stuart
Lancaster, and then straight to Eddie Jones.
Yeah.
What was it like going to Penny Hill Park training sessions under each different one of those coaches? Because I've spoken to a lot of England boys who are pals, and they're like, a high percentage of them didn't enjoy going training at Penny Hill Park, which is like a 5-star, beautiful complex. They're like, oh man, I'm really not looking forward to this.
Yeah, but like you take the missus there, you're going for a 5-star spa, and it's kind of like hell when I associate it with kind of physical and mental strain.
Right, okay.
I worked out, I spent 3 years of my life there, and I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. But I think what the boys are probably alluding to is until Eddie Jones, I felt disjointed as an England team.
Oh, wow.
Not united, not what Eddie did is he made the group aspirational, which sounds ridiculous for the other two managers, but Jono trusted a few guys, was probably a bit pally, they had credit in the bank.
Yeah.
Lanny had his vision of how he wanted to do things. But Eddie, man, like he set the bar so high. If you didn't basically train every day, prove yourself every day, rip in every day, perform on and off the field, you were gone.
Yeah.
And because playing for England is probably worth explaining to the listeners, with all the gravitas and honour of playing with it, the financial implications, which, rugby's not £1 million contract game. Guys aren't earning millions. So playing for England is a huge financial benefit. So for guys to be there, they'll fight like fuck to be there and stay there and prove themselves day in, day out. And previous to Eddie, there wasn't really that. So, man, like, I remember those days of, I almost wanted to go back to Northampton because I felt like we had a good team culture there. We were all ripping in. Northampton were being very successful at the time. I look forward to going back to club. Whereas in my twilight years playing with Eddie, I loved playing for England.
Really?
Yeah, wanted to play for England because we had a vision.
Yeah.
He talked every day about being the best in the world.
Wow.
He talked every day about winning the World Cup. From 2016, when he took over, he said, boys, none of you believe me, but we're going to win the World Cup in 2019.
Wow.
And he talked about it every day. To be the best team in the world, boys, we're going to do this. Are you, pushing yourselves? Are you doing this? Are you trying to be the best every day? Because I'll tell you what, in 4 years' time, in 3 years' time, 2 years' time, boys, in 1 year's time, we're going to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
Talked about it every day.
Really?
And all that shit you read about, like high performance leaders, inspiring. It's like, fucking talk about it.
Yeah, mate.
Breathe it, live and breathe it.
Yeah.
And to full credit to him, he took the boys. Well, they got themselves to that World Cup final, and they were that
So
close,
Yeah.
So he had the belief 4 years out to make the guys think like that. And do you know what? I don't think after 2015, this sort of fallout that Chris Robshaw and the boys had in that home World Cup, fuck, that was heartbreaking for them.
Yeah.
Were
you involved in that World Cup?
No, I got banned for headbutting Jamie George. No, there's I mean. So I got left out of that. And
wow. Were you going to be playing in that World Cup? And,
yeah.
And when did you headbutt him?
Just prior.
Just before.
And my ban finished the week of the tournament, so I could have been picked to go, but Lanny was so kind of clean cut, I suppose, and the bad news. I came with a story, and he didn't want any of that.
Yeah.
So by not picking me, he didn't want a 97 to 100% line out and set piece scrum. That's what I did bring to the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was his decision. But I had my daughter in that time, so I was at home.
Okay.
But the fucked up thing is I'd played under Jono.
Yeah.
Been to that World Cup. I played under Lanny for 4 years.
Yeah.
We'd been bridesmaids in Six Nations. So like to miss out on that, I had it in my head like I've been a part of this England team for 6 years now. At home World Cup, like we're going to win it. We're all going to be fucking legends. It's going to be amazing, go down in history.
Yeah.
So to miss out on it at the time was pretty hard.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and silver linings, had my daughter at home, and I reckon because I didn't have my fingerprints on that in 2015, that's why Eddie may have looked at me, as a captain for 2016. So, silver linings and sliding doors and all that sort of shit. So, yeah, man, like I reckon 2016 when Eddie came in and said, "None of you believe me," no one did, because man, there was some boys had been runners up in Six Nations for 4 years, got knocked out of a home World Cup, like. They were chips were down, mate. The boys were low.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool how he kind of mentally turned it around.
Just going back to your England career here, what were you earning to play for England? So it started off at a certain price. Then did it jump up? What was the most amount it jumped up to per game? And did you have to actually be in that squad to get that money?
Yeah, again,
in the 22.
Pretty tricky. In the early years, it was I think it was roughly about 10 a game.
Yeah.
I remember like the hospo after games, especially at Twickenham. Like being a young kid, like
brown envelopes everywhere.
Man, the boys move quicker putting their suits on than bloody, in the warm up.
Yeah.
It's like the boys were out the door after the game, and it was all monopolised by the old boys. They all knew the ropes, and it was funny. It was just how it was. It was kind of play for England, earn good cash. Get around the hospo tents, earn extra cash, and everyone was doing it, you know. But as a young player, you don't know anyone, so you just sit and watch it happen.
Yeah.
And then that kind of all got phased out under Stuart Lancaster. Again cleaning up the image.
Okay.
Boys not running around with I swear some boys had like custom pockets in their suit jackets and shit. They went out like in their suits and they came back looking like duffel jackets.
Yeah.
Duffel coats, sorry.
Duffel coat. So they'd be going so after the game, straight away, shower change, straight into the hospitality, different tents in the West Carpet or wherever it may be, or into the boxes, a couple of grand each one.
But then there are a few kind of centralised it all, and people like your big tier one sponsors, they wanted access to players, so it all money sort of got pooled.
Yeah.
And it was all fair, you'll do 4 appearances a year, you'll do 4, and it will get cycled around. So everyone will get a turn. Because what was happening, obviously, they want the captain,
the faces.
they want the kicker, all the usuals. So it all kind of got turned professional under Lanny again. But yeah,
Was that the point when it turned like that? Actually, the RFU said, right, or the players were like, we need to get together because 10 G's is not a lot of money for putting your body on the line playing for England. We need to up this, double
but
it or
this is
triple
the
it.
crazy thing, right? So I was around those contract negotiations that happen every four years on pay structure and stuff like that. And I've been in a few of them. I played for England for 10 years, so I sat in at least two of them. And we did a bit of kind of like market research. And whilst the English Rugby Union is probably the best funded union in the world, and we get paid the most, the team gets paid the most, and we're probably the envy of most. Well,
most nations.
Everyone's pissed off. That's why they all hate us. But we get paid well,
Mm.
But when you actually compare it to other sports and other industries, it's not. It's way down.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers, but say if you're an artist, a music artist, I think you take far more of the gate. If you play cricket, tennis, all these things, in terms of people coming through that gate to watch that performance and people tuning in to watch it on TV, the boys are still way down in a percentage of what
Absolutely
comparable. I mean, if you must know other industries. What I don't know if it's comparable.
I think. Or what did it go up to before you retired? Was it 25 grand a man to play for England?
I think it's about 22, maybe
22.
Yeah. Oh, and then an appearance after. Most guys do an appearance after. You're probably looking at.
And how many times did you play for England if you were playing a year?
It may be 10 games a year.
10 games.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But then you get 50% taxed on that.
You're
left with 100 odd grand.
Yeah, it's it's not it's not as shiny as it seems, but there's obviously image rights payments and stuff like that. So guys set up companies.
What do you think it's worth today when you see the players what you've gone through? What do you think they're worth a man to play for England?
I'd like it to be, all those people there to see that product, and the product is the players.
Yes.
They put on the show, and I get sponsorship and all that other stuff and grassroots, but the guys need to be rewarded.
Yeah.
Just do the market research again. What's everyone else in different sports being paid?
Yeah.
Like, they need to find some sort of common ground. Like, I'm not saying overpay them, but
what figure would you put on it?
Oh, man, I'd love to see the guys
per game for England.
I don't know.
You think of a number, you go, you know what? If I was getting that per game to play at Twickers in front of 80,000, I think that's fair.
Yeah, but again, like, you're going to have the whole brigade that just say you should be playing for free. You should play for the honour. But the fact that I've retired now, and the fact that I've still got to work, and my body is in fucking tatters, and I'm not playing the sympathy card here. But
mate, I saw you walking here.
Yeah, that's a good day.
Jesus,
that's a good day. Yeah. I've got no cartilage in my knee. I've got none in my hip. I've got a few sort of head issues, which I don't like talking about because self-fulfilling if you fucking talk about it. Out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean? Life is good.
Yeah. Today is good.
Yeah. Just, I don't want to get caught up in that.
Yeah.
So knowing what the guys put themselves through compared to other sports, the risks that they go through, I'd like to see it rewarded. Like, the guys should, like, my insurance.
Deal. How much?
Wait, no, I need to tell one more story.
No.
One more story.
No. How much per man per game for England where you'd go, that is fair? It's 22k at the moment. I'm going to put a number on it. Let's get the players to that.
This is going to be reported somewhere, no doubt. But if you're playing 10 games a year, if you can earn £1 million a year playing rugby, I reckon you can afford to pay for your hip surgery and your knee surgery post retiring, because no one's paying for my hip surgery. I need about 17 grand. I can't prioritize 17 grand on my hip right now. I've got 2 kids. I've got other shit I need to take care of. And the fact that my insurance is almost flawed, degenerative sort of issues in rugby, which you acquire. I mean, you've played the game. No one walks away from the game professionally. They'll fucking retire because the bodies are fucked. And guess what? No insurance pays them out, because it's like, when you're 19, you rolled your ankle, and when you're 34, that ankle's you're retiring, because when you're not, it's flawed. So no one pays you out, so you've got to fucking fork out to pay for your surgery.
That's crazy.
So if you've got money put away,
so you're saying 100 grand a game? That would be a nice number. Is that what you're saying?
That's not too far off, is it?
But what I'm saying, your point there is such a great point. You're what? You need 13 grand or 17 grand for your hip,
Yeah.
and you're going, hold on a minute. I've got 2 kids. They're prioritising that sort of my hip. I've just seen you walking down the street like an old man,
Yeah.
and you're not getting your hip done because you haven't got the pound note to do it.
Well,
and
no,
you've
it's
represented
prioritising.
and you've represented your country how many times?
97.
Unbelievable.
No, stop doing the math on those numbers.
No, mate.
Sliding scale.
No.
There.
I'm sliding scale, but that's over the years. But I'm saying it's unbelievable.
I'll tell you what. My missus is sitting there saying, "Do it, prioritise yourself."
Yeah.
But I'm saying, "No, I'm good." Like I train every day. Like I may walk like that. I'm not in pain because I'm probably offsetting it.
Yeah.
If I was continuously in pain, I'd sort it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's fucked that everyone gets spat out.
Yeah.
And rugby kind of closes the door on that and doesn't. They've got a responsibility to look after their people. You know what I mean? Physio, osteo, all that shit just gets taken away from you. You're a civilian. It's like, go fix your fucking body.
Yeah. Did you find that when you left Northampton? It's like you finished, you retired, see you later, mate.
Basically, yeah.
Because Haskell's the same. He said with Wasp, he's like, mate, I just finished. I've been loyal to you for 10, 15, whatever many years. Bam, see you later.
Well, he actually finished at Northampton with me.
He did. And he said he got a lot more love at Northampton than he did at Wasps when he retired.
He's too worried about the love, mate.
Yeah, okay.
He's too worried about the love. No, I get it for what it is. Like,
Did you retire? Did you retire because of injury? Did you retire going, I'm done? Or were they like, mate, your time's done?
No. I retired because of my knee, and that's the fucked up thing. So daily, I was spending about 5 hours to train for an hour, to run and train on the rugby field.
Yeah.
So I go to the swimming pool in the morning, mobility, go to the club, osteo, physio, fire-ups in the gym, go train for an hour, and then come off the field, osteo, physio, massage, swimming pool. So it's like 5 hours built around 1 hour training session.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that every day. It just wore me down.
Wow.
So that every day, just to get on the field, and all of a sudden you go, my knee's not at a level to perform anymore. It's like, okay, let's retire. Okay, cool, all done. But then all that shit that you were trying to do to be able to walk and run effectively.
Taken away.
Yeah, all that infrastructure, all that.
Could you not go back to the club and say, do us a favour, I need to be looked after. Just let me use your physio, let me use your massage, let me use everything.
That's my point, is I think there's a responsibility to professional rugby to do it, and it's not there.
Wow.
It's a bit fucked up. I was going through my phone the other day and I saw one of the RPA reps, the Rugby Players Association, and I just said, hey, here's just a bit of food for thought, only because I saw their name. I typed up all this shit, everything I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I just said, no one's checked on me since I've retired either. I may be the England captain or whatever. And I just said, if I was wired differently, someone else could be in a hole right now.
Yeah.
I said, by the way, I'm not.
Yeah.
But here's all my list of points that I think you need to fucking implement.
Good for you, mate.
And I said, it's just food for thought. Use it how you want. And now they've got them all fucking chasing me, seeing if I'm all right.
Right, okay.
I'm like, fucking leave me alone. No, but like, you know, I can imagine with some other boys, I've never been depressed or anything like that. And mate, I think I would have known about it if, with all my bands and the fucking, mate, I was getting trolled before Be Kind was a fucking thing. And, you know, like I've been through all that shit. So like, I'm not wired that way. But yeah, I think professional rugby's got a bit of, how the fuck have we got onto this responsibility to look after its boys? Because it's one suggestion I said is like for a year at least, get that player back on his feet physically so he can kind of.
Whose responsibility is that? Is it actually the clubs or the RPA? Can the RPA dip into a fund and say, well, we need to look after?
There's no fund.
There's no fund.
Nah.
Did you get insurance against something to say?
I had private insurance and then I had RPA insurance, but none of them pay out for degenerative. And no one wants to cover concussion either, funnily enough. So it's flawed, mate. It really is flawed. You know, sign up to RPA or insurance when you're 20 years old, blow your knee out, retire, get payout. Do it when you're 34, 35. Nah.
Nothing,
So what's the point in paying into something for 15 years, you know what I mean?
Did you know they talk about each week in training, you got your Leicester, your Northamptons, they're smashing each other each week. How many car crashes do you think you were having per week before playing a game on Saturday?
Oh, man. You see now it's regulated, right?
Yeah.
So it's born out of that. So 15 minutes a week now is what it is, which is, again, I went to a international rugby board meeting in Monaco. Sounds very glitzy. And I said we need to regulate contact training. Fucking 5 years later, that they've kind of got it through. I'm not saying that I came up with that.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, players have been crying out for it for a while. I'll tell you why, because you would have being coached by people like this.
Mm.
You lose Sunday,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday. It's like Monday you go out. It's like, right, fucking 2-on-1s, run it straight within a 5-meter channel, you know. And again, under Eddie Jones, it would be like everything was planned, minuted. You know, like a gym session. Where you've got like exercise A and B, superset, 2 minutes rest. Like Eddie's sessions are planned like that as rugby sessions. 3 minutes on that, 3 minutes on that. Water break, 36. It's fucking. They're all wired up.
Yeah.
It's so professional. But I remember like coaches going, just 10 minutes. The boys had, you know, we've been going ages. You'd start doing the eye rolls, looking around, and he'd go, keep going, keep going. And like some of the coaching methods.
Or just smashing each other. Keep going, yeah.
Some of the coaching techniques of rucking, it's like put your head on his head.
Yeah.
Who's harder? Yeah. He'll move, you know, moving a Richie McCaw or a David Pocock in a clear out. It's like put your Swede on his Swede. And it's like we were coached to do that.
Yeah.
It's the fucking. But I'm not blaming coaches for that. I'm just saying culturally, the game has changed a lot. And I was brought through in that system where it was fucking break people's fingers to get them off the ball. We used to do warm-ups with your own teammates. It's like, get the ball off him, rip his fingers. It's like, my teammate.
Yeah.
Put your head on his head. It's just like, do horrible things.
Legalise violence.
But, mate, basically. But then you talk about like all your car crashes and, you know, like scrummaging for me early days. You know, now it's all like grab, touch, you know, touch, bind. There's hardly a hit.
Yeah. I
was scrummaging where I play against someone mental, like an old boy, that'd make the gap almost as big as this. Yeah. And my first few professional scrums, the guy would just look at me like you. Usually I'd be looking there at your shoulder where I'm going to go. He'd just be looking at me and he would engage onto my head. Yeah. It was like and it fucking worked. Yeah. I didn't want to be there.
Yeah, but did you take that mentality? Go,
I'm going to pass it on.
Yeah.
You know, I came through in that school. So, man, culturally the game's changed a lot. And I think steps like that.
I don't want to go into this conversation, right? This concussion thing. Yeah. But just quickly, do you think there's going to be players like yourselves, like your Tomos, like your big hitters who are actually going to end up getting a good payout for when all this gets proved about concussion?
I think I'm conscious not to, you know, I support the guys because they're obviously going through some tough shit. Yeah. I've had plenty of knockouts in my time, sub-concussions, whatever you want to call them. I've had it all. I'm of the thought of if you think about something, you start seeing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you start talking about something, you start feeling it.
It goes back to Eddie Jones, start thinking and talking about it. Power of words, yeah.
I reckon for a month I was involved with some discussions around that and I felt pretty low. Yeah. Didn't feel good. You know, being a father of 2 young kids, you know, when you're thinking about life, it's just not a pleasant thing talking to other people with symptoms and conditions. Like you surround yourself with that, like that becomes your life. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I still booze a bit, but cut back on that, start training a bit more, eating a certain way, start being a bit more conscious, a bit more mindful, like, and all of a sudden I feel fucking good. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm going to get early onset dementia now. Yeah. If it happens, you know, I've got to enjoy my days until that does happen. But
isn't it mad we're talking about this? How old are you? 35?
35, yeah.
And we're talking about this at the age of 35.
Yeah, but the guys that have, I suppose, expressing or have been diagnosed at early 40s, so I've probably got a head start on those guys. That I've got to be more self-aware. Yeah, I can eat certain foods. I can train. I can, you know, I use a hyperbaric chamber. I do all these little things to try and. But the other thing with that is like I'm really conscious not to scaremonger or do around rugby. You know, like rugby's given me a livelihood. It's given me so much. Yeah. It still is my livelihood, and I am conscious not to put rugby in too bad a light. Yeah. Because I think, yes, it has a responsibility, but we're learning, you know, as long as we're learning and things like the 15-minute contact reduction, that's a step forward in my mind. And it's just not a fight. This sounds fucking selfish. Yeah. It's just not a fight I want to get drawn into. Yeah. I want to go and enjoy my life.
Mate. Good for you, man.
And, you know.
Wicked mindset to have.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it is. I think it
But
is.
I think it's fucked up that I know plenty of guys I played with, 2 that have committed suicide professionally, professional players that have committed
Yeah.
suicide, and there's been others, and it's only now that we sit there and look at them and go, oh, they struggled with drugs, alcohol,
Yeah.
transition from rugby, you know, they couldn't find work, they couldn't hold that, they missed the camaraderie. But then if you look to American sports like CTE,
Yeah.
these guys are going fucking mental because
Yeah.
of CTE. We play the same game.
CTE is what?
Chronic, big word.
It's T.
It's basically like where your brain
okay.
turns to shit and you
Yeah.
start
Okay.
changing and you do some fucked up stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So things like your decision making becomes poor.
Just in everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about it, but who's the NFL guy who basically did he murder his family?
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys that turn to
Yeah.
drugs, alcohol,
Yeah.
and they all link it back to basically the brain being damaged.
Yes.
It's a brain damage effectively. I'm not a doctor, by the way, but it's funny that rugby we effectively play the same game in terms of collision and contact, but we've never recognised CTE in any players, and like it's just mad. I reckon we've probably got to have a look.
Definitely.
You know,
What do you do? How did you find the transition of actually retiring and going, oh, I'm not getting up, I'm not training, not being militant, not being told what to do, to be there, to actually having the freedom?
yeah, it's liberating.
Yeah.
I tell you what, mentally liberating because I'd been pushed pretty hard by Eddie in my final years, and with physically when I was shutting down as well, I was trying to fight for every last sort of opportunity to play for England and whatnot. So when I finished, it was like I've broken the shackles of like Eddie Jones. He kind of controlled my life in a good way, you know. He pushed me and
was he a mentor?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was 100% my mentor, and got a lot of respect for him. But he made me pretty uncomfortable, which is why probably got the most out of me. But
in what way? He made you uncomfortable, putting you under pressure to perform.
Man,
or
yeah, he knew I wanted to be there, and I wanted to be there. But he also said to me, you know, you're not the best player here. You know, Jamie George was playing very well at the time, and he said, you're not the best player physically. We can't do much with you. You're 31. You know, we can't get much more out of you, but we can make some little changes. But he said, you got a good mindset and you can work hard. And he goes, I want you to be the example of work ethic. So at 31 years old, like oldest bloke in the team, I was being beasted in front of the boys just to, you know, if the captain can be fucking put under the pump, you all can.
Yeah.
So I was his sort of his example of work ethic, and he worked unbelievably hard as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I was there for the guys to set the example. In terms of, you know, I always did top up fitness, not by choice. I was made to do it. Day off when the boys are kind of recovering, pancakes, massage, stretching. I'd be doing like ground based conditioning, fighting, kind of all that sort of stuff, extra fitness.
Which all the other players could see.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd come,
and that was down
either
to
there, or I'd come into the room sweating. You know, always have a notepad with me because I was in and out of meetings all day. It just wasn't, you know. I was more worried about the team training and the team playing well than myself, if that made sense. I was always, it was just a very harsh environment, but one that I sort of, when I look back at it, as soon as I finished, it was liberating because it was like having a holiday. But now I look back, if I was to talk to any of the guys, I'd say, I know how you all feel. It's a bit sort of that sicky feeling before fitness. Every training session is pretty hard. You got to go hard. You've been pushed.
Yeah.
But like, I miss that feeling of being challenged, having a higher power effectively to keep you honest. You know, I had a nutritionist come to my house every 10 days, 2 weeks, you know, stripped down to my pants, skin folds, taken 8 sites. Bloke would drive 2.5 hours to come do it, just so Eddie would know what my weight is and what my skin folds
are. Is that
are.
right?
Because as a fat lad, he knows if I'm committed and diligent, the one thing I can control is what's going in my mouth.
Yeah, mate.
So, and for me, man, I look at a pint of beer and I'll put on, I could put on 4 kilo in a weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I started living like a monk, you know what I mean? Like social life fell on the back burner, wouldn't eat out. You know, this is where like partners of professional athletes are support, you know. So I miss funerals, weddings, christenings, just popping out going out for a Thursday night meal with friends. Just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Or if I went out, I wouldn't have a fucking starter, wouldn't have dessert,
Yeah.
and I'd have a fucking steak and a
Yeah.
salad. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or I'd be that guy, but all because I knew on Monday this dude's come to take my skin folds and Eddie's going to see it, and I won't like.
And that must be quite nice as well.
Yeah, that's what I miss in a way, but it's fucking taxing at the time.
Okay.
It's like there's no social life or whatever, because I don't know how people manage to do it with balance. I was either one or the other.
Yeah.
Off season,
All in or
I like smash it for 2 weeks and then I'm straight back on it. And that's what I'm trying to find now. Like I've got no higher power, so what makes me accountable? You know, prior to about when I saw you, I had a bit of a social time. With weddings and stag do's and good social summer events and all that. But then, you know, in the last 3 weeks, I've kind of got up at 5:30 in the morning and got 2 mates that come train and we hold each other accountable. And it's like, I won't booze now. You know, I've got nothing to not booze for. But I've got to do one or the other. You know.
What was that? What was that feeling like when Eddie pulled you in and said, "I want you to captain England"?
It was a bit daunting, really, because he'd taken over. He invites me down for...
this is 2016?
Yeah, for breakfast. So I've been banned for that World Cup. My England career's over. And I was thinking, I'd heard about him.
Had you met him before?
No.
No, okay.
He'd coached Saracens
That's right.
back in the day.
Yeah.
But he, I think I got wind of it. He was talking to a few players, like retiring a few. You know, like, you know, don't need you type thing. You're not on my plans going forward. So got wind of that. And I kind of thought this is either going to be good or bad. So I thought, is he going to retire me or is he going to have breakfast with me, ask me what the shortcomings of the team were, where we need to get better? Because I've been around that group for 6 or 7 years, you know. So was I in his eyes a senior player? Did he want to pick my brain? The captaincy thing never really came into my mind. So yeah, when he threw that over to me, kind of, it's weird though. Before I went down, I was like, right, first impressions.
Where were you?
Penny Hill Park.
Okay.
Breakfast.
So he's basically pulled you in. You're thinking, I'm actually going to be back in the squad. And then he's actually had a chat and said, I'm actually going to make you captain.
Yeah.
Ballsy from him.
Yeah. I shaved my head before I went as well.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking hell. Like, then met this bloke before. I was like, right, shave my head. I don't know why, but I was like, I just don't want him to think anything. I just want him to think business.
Yeah.
Like, he's proper front row mob. Like, he's jarhead.
Yeah.
Like,
he's on it.
Yeah. So, I went down, did that. He said in his book, actually, I look like a fat philosophy student because I wore my glasses. And it's funny because if I actually look at 2016 captain's call, you know, when that was announced, I looked like a fat student. Yeah. And then by the end of working with Eddie, I'd actually shaped up a bit. Yeah. You know, got a bit of a jawline. I think my shirt size went down a bit in the old. But he worked me incredibly hard, mate. And do you know what? It just taught me that, fuck, like, if you want anything, you've got to graft. And that's why behind closed doors, what are the All Blacks doing? Yeah. Why are they so successful? Why is any organisation successful year on year on
relentless?
Because loads of people
same as business.
Loads of people can do it once or twice, right? But there's got to be something happening.
Agree.
And you know, if it was easy, everyone would fucking do it as well.
Agree. Did you have anyone go against you having a Kiwi accent as an England captain?
Oh man, like, again, maybe the chip on the shoulder thing, but like, I remember when I went to that first South Africa tour when I was under 19s, literally had a Berghaus kind of backpack with my life's possessions in it, flip-flops, board shorts, trained it to Twickenham Station, walked to the ground. Security thought I was a tourist. And I'm there when my equivalents, James Haskell, they're turning up chinos, blazers, Range Rovers, mummy, daddy. I'm there like fucking grown man on the other side of the world with all my shit. So straight from the off, like, I struggled, I reckon. And equally, you know, when Eddie appointed me, you know, with the wrong accent and the rap sheet, I think he got a couple of blazers kind of saying, what are you doing type thing. And again, like the media thing, I'd had a pretty, not tough. I understood the media by that point because I was 29, 30 and I'd been through all my disciplinaries and I didn't like the media because I only got bad shit wrote about me, which I understood. But But then when I got the captaincy, it wasn't like a celebration. I remember thinking, you know, Chris Robshaw, it was like proud day for his club, his school, his mum and dad, like everything. Whereas I didn't get anything of that.
Yeah.
So it was almost like people wanted me to not do well.
Yeah.
And every media session I went into for that Six Nations, that first tournament I was appointed for, I had to answer a question about my disciplinary. Do you trust yourself? And then we fucking grand slam it. And it's the first time I could walk in, shoulders back, head up.
Yeah, mate.
And I was like, not talking about that anymore.
Quality.
Let's talk about this. So that was like...
So that was your first... You won the Grand Slam in your first year as captain?
Yeah, first tournament. First time. And I mean, like...
That's quality, mate.
It wasn't... not saying it was me. We had a fucking good team.
Yeah.
And there was like a new energy. Like Eddie came in, new impetus, changed a few things on the field. But the main thing he changed in the team was the psychology of it.
Yeah.
Just being aggressive, being fucking winning. I talk about winning. Like, this is ridiculous. So I remember going to presses or press conferences with Stuart Lancaster's management. We had bullet point sheets wrote out how proud you are to play for England, respect the opposition, ... read off the hymn sheet, basically. Eddie was like, you've seen him do media. When he does that media, that filters to the team.
Yes.
Like he's communicating with the team when he's speaking there.
Yeah.
He may be talking to the papers, the TV, but he's talking to his players.
Yeah.
Eddie starts going like, we want to win. Of course we want to fucking win. It's international sport. So I'm sitting there going, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we want to win.
Yeah.
And we'd never say that under Jono Lancaster because rugby's just, you know, humility, respect.
Yeah.
You know, respect the opposition, but it's international big boy sport. We're here to win. Yeah. Like, so when I start going like, I want to win, the team start, because they hear Eddie talking about winning with his good Aussie kind of, you know, competitive nature.
Yeah.
Mate, talking about winning and winning, practicing, training to win, preparing to win, talking about winning the whole time. It starts, you know, the self-belief starts coming through. We're winners. And do you know what? Just that psychology was, instead of tiptoeing around media questions like, we've trained to win. Do you feel good this week? Yeah, we've trained to win. And you're telling yourself, and fuck me, that was a massive difference. I know it's only a small thing, but having someone at the top set the bar and be black and white about it, but what we're here to do, no fucking confusion, you know?
Yeah. Mate, that's quality, mate. Mate, this is...
I could go on for...
Yeah, mate, this is quality,
he's
man.
An interesting man. Like, just an absolute
Have you stayed in contact with him?
Yeah, I mean, my balls still shrink when he texts me.
Yeah, okay.
But that's out of... is it Stockholm Syndrome? What's that? Like, you fall in love with your captor.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's all born out of respect. Like, he pushed me unbelievably hard. And that's what I probably miss in this new life.
Are you the highest ever capped hooker ever to play for England?
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yeah, I got banned for 60 weeks.
I know. Imagine what it could have been.
I could have been like Alan Wynne Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
They would never let it happen, mate. The rugby gods never let it happen.
They wouldn't. Dill, thoroughly enjoyed this chat, mate. Just before we finish off, have you got a question for me?
I do. How old are you? That's not the question.
You want the honest joke? 45.
45. Okay. What's been your best decade and why? Because you're, in my eyes, a successful bloke. You've dabbled in this, that, and everything. You got 10 years on me. Fucking hell, your moisturiser. You're
good, isn't it?
Living by the coast, man. I need to get down.
You need to get down to Bournemouth.
But my point is, like, I'm always chasing, like, rugby's done for me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what's next? I really want to have that same buzz of that 19-year-old me wanting to be that professional rugby player. And I'm thinking, back for you, what's been your best decade? Was it your young days in the hustle? Is it now, as I see you as a successful festival organizer? What was your best years?
I love my 20s.
Yeah.
Because I was just creating businesses and throwing parties in nightclubs all around the UK. So I had 12 parties in nightclubs every single week. I threw 1,500 parties in nightclubs.
So what? 12 a week?
I had 12 nightclubs every week all around the country, from Manchester to Birmingham to London to Brighton to Oxford to Cambridge to Exeter to Guildford. It went on and on. I had 12 nightclubs every week. Every single week I'd have 2,000 students coming in, partying.
What was good about it? Was it
Because no one had done it. There was no business model to follow. There was no student promoters coming in and seeing that opportunity. I would go to Birmingham, and there'd be a club there of 2,500 people in there on a Wednesday. I see that other club 200 meters away closed. I'd go to that club and say, listen, I'll get those 2,500 people in that club within 4 weeks. That the other club will end up closing, and we'll have them for the whole year. I'll take the door money. They take the bar money. I was charging £4 a man. So we had 12 of them every single week all around the country. Did that for 10 years.
do you miss the you know, in your 20s that sort of like you turn up here, right?
Yep.
Today you get a car here.
Yep.
You got your good gears on. You
Yep.
stay in a nice hotel tonight.
Yep.
You're going to a Ponzi Boodles dinner and speaking.
Yep.
Do you miss the sort of hustle of like just sleeping on a mate's couch and like, you know, in your 20s, that sort of simplistic sort of aspect to life?
It's an interesting question. I keep my life really simple, and I have done in my 20s, have done in my 30s, and I'm doing it in my 40s. I keep everything so simple.
Are you married?
Yeah, mate, married.
That's not simple, is it?
No, but it
Kids,
is
simple.
good. Yeah, simple. Married, been with Mrs. 18 years, down in Bournemouth. But the key to happiness for me is keeping things simple. I don't do email. People are like, how are you running all these businesses with no email? I run everything off this mobile phone. I've had the same mobile number since 1995. I never miss a contact. Anyone I come across or I like or I can do or I can help them, here's your mobile number, down. Stay in contact, WhatsApp. I run all my businesses off WhatsApp. People think I'm mad. You're like, how are you doing that? But it's just the way I've done it. I've never had a mentor. I've never been told you have to do it this way. I find everyone's a mentor. I find there's lots of people who will be mentor because I'll meet someone and ask them questions. I'm really curious. And I guess that's why I'm doing a podcast, because I love chatting to people. I love people. I'm curious. I'll ask questions. I'll ask questions that people will be scared to ask, not just on a podcast. I'm talking about in life. So for that first decade was it being seeing a gap in the market, throwing parties, throwing student nights, creating a business model no one had ever done. We scaled it up to 1,500 parties I threw in those 10 years. That's 150 odd parties a year. I then come up with the idea to do a sport and music festival in 2008.
Yeah. Is it the one that I know now?
It's the one you came to last month. That was an idea. There was no business model to follow because in the UK, all there were was music festivals where the music festival would say, okay, well, we'll spend £2 million on a lineup on bands and DJs and hopefully sell tickets. I've gone in and gone, hold on, there's a gap in the market again. I want to be the pioneer again. I've done the student night thing for 10 years, pioneer of that. I wanted to come and see a gap in the market of creating a sport and music festival. Took a massive gamble. And in 2008, ran out of money 6 months prior to doing this festival in 2008 in year one. Back then, the recession was about, so you couldn't go to any banks and loan money. I thought it was going to cost 100 grand to put on. I spent all the money 6 months prior before putting the first festival. The only other option was to go and remortgage the house. And like I've said before, any listeners out there, do not go and remortgage your house throwing a party in a field. Anyway, remortgaged the house with the missus. There was a lot of tears from my wife, Fleur. There was lots of tears for about 6 months leading up to the festival going, if no one turns up or you get a small amount of people turn up, we're losing our house. It's simple as that. There was no social media back then. People weren't buying online and buying the tickets. So it was me flyering and postering and getting chased by everyone, whether it's police, councillors, whatever, because all I had to do, I had to get the word out there. You know, I'd go up to Twickenham with 3 carloads of students all dressed up as Superwoman and Superman outfits with 80,000 flyers, and we'd be putting them everywhere, being chased by the security all around Twickenham on every home international game. In and out of toilets, changing clothing, come back out.
Pamphleting, yeah.
Flyering, yeah.
Yeah, I would have done that for you.
Yeah, mate. That was my world. I had to let everyone know about this new thing called Bournemouth Sevens Festival down on the south coast.
How many people did you get there year one?
Year one, I think we got like 4,000 people.
Yeah. And you saved the house?
And we saved the house.
Yeah.
And we made £1,000 profit.
Yes.
So actually, as a businessman, you look back in and go, you know, people go, £1,000. One of the biggest promoters in the UK, who owns Reading and Leeds Festival, he come down to our festival. He come down and saw me before. He said, I think you're onto something here. His name's Melvin Ben, biggest promoter out there. he said, most music festivals take 7 years to break even, and you've earned £1,000 year one. Do not change a fucking thing.
Just grow.
Just grow and tweak and improve. So the
Year
last
2, what? Not money. How many people?
it would have gone up by 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And
When did you see your biggest jump then? Sorry, this isn't one question.
2008 was year one. We've just completed 2021, which was year 14. It was year 5, and it just went whoosh.
Numbers were what?
Numbers were jumped up to 15,000, and then we've been sold out 30,000 every year for the last 8 years. It's wild. Yeah, it's wild, man. And you got to think, you've got at the festival now, we've got 800 staff each day. We've got 12 festival arenas. Well, you've been there. You saw the magnitude of
outstanding. I was blown away, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But you just talked about the last sort of decade then.
Yeah, that was in my 30s. Yeah. So building the business. Yeah. So we also launched a sportswear brand called Viper 10 Sportswear.
Yeah.
And again, I wanted to be the pioneer of that because I knew that industry, again, were doing it wrong. Universities and clubs were going to get their rugby kit and netball kits, and it was taking 12 weeks from China to come back and land in the UK. I thought, hold on, there's a better business model to be had here. I went and found a factory. We looked at China, we looked at Pakistan, we looked at India, we looked at Turkey. I found a factory in Lithuania. 4 weeks landed on your door.
Yeah.
So I could go to a university, do a £100,000 deal, and say it'd be landed on your door in 4 weeks.
Not 12 weeks, yeah.
Not 12 weeks. And the business model was there to be broken. So again, we did that launched that in 2012, and we got a phone call in 2018 of someone saying, Dodge, is that you? It's on my mobile. Yes, it is. I've been watching you for the last 3 years. I want to buy Viper 10 Sportswear. I was like, Chris, is that you? Like my best mate, taking the mickey sort of thing. He was like, no, I want to buy it. 6 months later, completely sold. 100%, no earn out, 100% the company's yours.
Gone.
Made an offer we couldn't refuse. So that was going on in my 30s. My 30s was all about the festival and creating there. And these 40s have been an absolute delight. And this last year, I've really enjoyed because my back's against the wall. I lost my festival last year because of COVID, and we lost a lot of money. You know, you got to think
you're back on ground zero now.
Well, you think about it. Your festival's in May every year, and in March the 23rd, 2020, Boris said nothing's going to happen. There's a COVID thing coming over. There's a flu. There's whatever pandemic. I didn't know what they were. I had to go and Google them all and find out what's what. And I thought I need to find a new business. So I created a new business. We lost the festival. We lost a lot of money last year because we didn't put it on. You still got all your staff costs. You still got your office costs. And the two biggest things in business are your staff costs and your office costs. And it's allowed me to do the Eventful Entrepreneur podcast. I didn't know what a podcast was a year ago. It's allowed me to do this. It's allowed me to open my black book and call quality people like yourself and pals and da-da-da.
I don't know about me, mate. I was listening to the one on the way down. The drug man. What's his name?
Andy Pritchard.
Oh my gosh, I'm not finished it yet.
Yeah, mate.
I don't know if I can gain any sort of.
Mate, he's an entrepreneur.
He's unbelievable.
He's an entrepreneur, man, and he's done it a different way. He started the rave scene in the 80s before it all went into the nightclubs, and then he took a different path. He could either been stayed in the nightclub world and took that path, or he went to the criminal path, and that's what he did.
The dark side,
he went that
mate.
side, and no one wins on that side, mate. No one wins. But anyway, Dill, it's been an absolute delight to have you on the podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed that, mate.
Well, I hope it wasn't too rugby. You know what I mean?
No, mate, it was good. It was honest.
I had an eBay business back in the day.
Mate, it was honest, mate. And this is about people who have had eventful lives. And you've certainly had an eventful life. And I really do appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much.
You're a gentleman. Good man.
Cheers, Dodge.
Cheers, mate.
Oh,
good man.